So I was a bit away thinking about something as you were talking, Councillor Clark, so I apologize. We are outside the motion now. Did you have further questions? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I do. And so
That's an Irish expression, being away.
I'm Irish also, and I've been away a lot. Can I just ask our staff to more clearly articulate what we do during a heat emergency? So when the medical officer of health declares a heat emergency, what kicks in the city of Hamilton? What services are we providing? Where are the services being provided? How are we helping elderly people who are living in multi-residential high-rise buildings that simply don't have the ability to get out to a cooling center? How are we making sure that water is being provided? I know I asked a lot of hows there, but I wanted to give them the breadth of what my inquiry is.
So what happens? What do we do? Thank you, Manager Lawson.
Through the chair to Councillor Clark. Councillor Clark, just a point about the use of the word heat emergency. The two types of response that we have, or the two phases of response action, are heat warnings and extended heat warnings. If an emergency were to need to be declared, it would be opened by a member of the Emergency Operations Center. It would be initiated, and a plan thereunder would take place. My program within Public Health Services has met with the emergency coordinators for the city, Connie Verhage and Kristen Marples, to begin the discussions on what would a heat emergency reaction look like. It would be dependent on a number of factors, which I think mainly getting air conditioning and power distributed across the city are some of the main response considerations. But to your earlier point and question about how do we get to vulnerable individuals within the buildings, I think by and large there's no organized system for that. A lot of it is goodwill of neighbors knowing that they're there. The current part of the current response is to provide communication and reinforced communication that is an activity that we're encouraging people to do, is check on neighbors. But in a formal, organized manner. That is one of the goals of the forward work, is to how do we develop that interest within the community so that community members are able to help do that work. You know, failing a system where the city would have employees to go out and address every building, it would be very resource intensive. So this is where we have to build on trying to leverage community will to help create those networks in supporting individuals.
Councillor?
Thank you for that. So I'm assuming we're going to get a report back in terms of what we would be doing in an emergency, you know, assuming that the temperature is high 40s, long time period. How are we going to address that? Because it's going to affect many people in the city. So we need that response. Can I ask, in terms of the heat warning process that we have, can we expedite a process where folks who need health checks can get them, or wellness checks, I guess is the better terminology? Folks who, let's face it, not all neighbors are neighborly. Perhaps we could create a voluntary wellness check for heat alerts.
Through the chair to Councillor Clark, I can take that information away and work with colleagues in the city on within community services programs to identify any opportunities that might exist as well. Within there is the community paramedic program as well that I believe has done wellness checks for residents in the past, but I'm not sure what their capacity would be able to support such a program, but I can make inquiry with those groups. related to in-year service versus coming up with a plan and it being delayed further by another heat season.
And so let's address the heat alerts, if I have additional time for one more question.
Yes, please.
Can you explain the current heat alert process? How broad is it across the city? I'm cognizant that residents living far and wide can experience health impacts as a result of a heat alert and perhaps may not have the assistance that they need. So what are we providing to help cool people down and help them get through a heat alert?
Who can help in describing what we do when we call a heat warning?
Through the chair to Councillor Clark, Councillor, so the heat alert is issued the heat warning is issued by Environment Canada. So Environment Canada identifies conditions that are forecasted to be experienced that would necessitate and meet the criteria of the temperature thresholds over time. Once that's done, it's notified to the local health unit. We take that message that comes from Environment Canada and we amplify the message. We notify all the members of council through an email distribution list. We notify senior leadership within the city for their departments to take any response actions as needed. We do a community blast notification to all of our community participating stakeholders that provide response activities due to a heat event. Currently, the one thing that you've alluded to earlier is that's missing is perhaps there's an opportunity to have individuals listed within that system. It's called the RAVE system. It's our emergency notification system that is used through a provincial platform. That might be one of the opportunities to leverage that system. But we also notify news media locally and broader that this is that the alert is happening. With respect to the notification of a heat alert, what responses happen, this is where we've heard from our colleagues in Ontario Works today about the services they can offer to prevent heat within clients that meet the criteria to get an air conditioner, as well as Manager Carabun from Parks and Cemeteries talking about the free pools and the extended hours, as well our colleagues, city colleagues within the Hamilton Public Library system, and they're opening up and just being a welcoming cool space partnership and advertising that to the public. They'll do it with sandwich boards. We have the information on our heat website. They promote it through theirs as well as our recreation facilities that are identified as cool places and spray pads. Manager Bunn also spoke to the drinking fountain aspects as well in getting water provided. Those are some of the core response work that is done by the city. Additionally, there are some response services performed by community agencies. And I think, Councillor Clark, you referred to it earlier at another meeting that, the city shouldn't have to rely on the Salvation Army to pass out bottled water during a heat event. And that is where the fountains, I think the drinking fountains are getting better maintenance and that they are taking greater effort to ensure that the fountains are operable. I would like to add, though, that as part of their response, the Salvation Army will be doing water distribution as they have in previous seasons. When there is a heat warning in the downtown core between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., they will be out there doing their duty to help distribute water to those that may need it. Those are some of the actions that happen in response.
Thank you, and I'm glad to hear that. A quick comment. I am very concerned that some of these extreme heat events that we're seeing in Western Canada, in the United States, in Europe, it's just a matter of time. And having an extreme heat event where temperatures exceed 40 degrees and lasts for a week or more the impact on our community, on our senior citizens, would be tragic. And we need to be prepared for that. And I'm going to continue pushing in that regard because I don't think we have enough preparations in play currently that we would be able to mitigate the impacts or abate the impacts of such extreme events in Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you. No further speakers. If I could ask Councillor Pauls to take the chair just for a brief moment.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. Through the chair to Manager Bunn, just to clarify further to Councillor Nan's questions on the water fountain, how many outdoor pools do you know offhand that does the city operate?
Through the chair, I'm actually going to refer that to Recreation.
Okay, thank you.
Hello there, committee. My name's Janine Gahn. I'm manager of recreation for the Recreation Division. We have 10 outdoor pools. Outdoor pools will open June 30th and they open until Labor Day.
Thank you. Through the chair, not trying to cast shade, but I received a notice from the city of Edmonton, which we would associate as being cooler than ourselves, that they opened all of their outdoor pools last weekend. And most of my neighbors are opening theirs in preparation for Victoria Day. Is there a rationale through the chair why ours are being opened at the end of June as opposed to the end of May, for example, through the chair?
Through the chair, Janine Gaunt, manager of recreation. It has been historical and it's also a staffing concern for us as many high school students, university students returning to the city, and that is their summer employment period. There are some startup concerns as we have to do an assessment as to potentially what damage may have been done through the winter to piping, getting them ready to open, public health inspections so that we can open. So there is some backing up, say, of the timeline so that all that prep work gets done so that we can open for the end of June.
Through the chair, have we ever done an assessment of the relationship between perhaps an outdoor pool and an existing heat island, such that we recognize perhaps the issue of equity in maybe not having to open all 10, but perhaps leaning into opening those where we know I think one of our delegates used the term concrete jungle, where there's higher incidence of less access to air conditioning, higher incidence of illness, particularly for children and elderly. Have we ever approached the opening of our outdoor amenities in that fashion? Through the chair.
Through the chair, to my knowledge, outdoor pools, no, we haven't. However, we do have the capacity at our indoor pools that are remaining open. All of our swims would be free during heat warning or extended heat warning. So we haven't found in the past that not having the outdoor asset open is a deterrent to participation, as we have capacity within our indoor buildings. We also would like to encourage people to go inside into a cooler rec center and not be exposed to the elements. As much as people want to go outside when it's warmer out and use an outdoor pool, we feel we do have the amenities indoors for them to use.
Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. Just a few comments from me. I've tried to stay silent throughout much of this, and I appreciate all of the delegates and all of the comments.